Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Chicken Box. We're excited to have you join us today, and I hope that your week is winding down on a good note and that you're enjoying this warm weather. Today, we'll be discussing Black People versus Jazz Fest, and we have some special guests joining us today. If this is your first time joining us, I'm Courtney Alexander, one of your co hosts. Impeccable and Dr. Draper, unfortunately, won't be able to join us today, but don't worry, they will be back next week or the week after. So today we have the Afro's executive director and managing editor, Lenora Halsey and Alexis Taylor, joining us today. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Courtney, for having us on to join you.
Yes, it's a pleasure having you. How's the weather there in Baltimore today?
The weather is nice. There's a nice little breeze here. It feels pretty good. It's a perfect spring day here in Baltimore.
Yeah, it really is. If it weren't for the fact that I thought it would cause a glare, I'd be in my outside office. But I don't know. I don't know how well that comes across, but I'm excited about today's conversation.
Yes, indeed. Today we'll also be joined by our special guest, Kevin Alexander. Hi,
hello,
Kevin.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello,
Hi,
Kevin.
thank you for giving us this time.
Not a problem at all. Glad to be here.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. And I can start off by introducing you to everyone. So Kevin is a 35-year-old resident of Prince George's County in Maryland. He has a passion for music, jazz in particular, and cultural arts. In 2010, Kevin founded the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival that is held annually each year in July. In partnership with MNC PPC and supported by many corporate sponsors, this community music event has grown into a major cultural event in the county. And they have over 6,000 attendees each year. Kevin is also the founder and president of Prince George's Cultural Arts Foundation Incorporated, which is the 501c3 nonprofit organization that sponsors and hosts the festival. Under his leadership, this organization also raises funds to provide scholarships to college-bound students with an interest in arts. Kevin is also the co-owner with his wife, Lisa, of Wellspring Manor and Spa, a 5-suite luxury bed and breakfast located in Prince George's County.
Great.
Cool. Now, are you 35 years old or are you a 35-year resident of Prince George's County?
Right. No, not quite 35 years old. Although I just had a birthday, but not my 35th birthday. A 35-year resident of Prince George's County.
Okay. And Kevin, Impeccable, has joined us. Kevin, we were just saying earlier, I didn't think you were going to be on the call. We told Kevin Alexander that if you were to join us, we would have another Kevin as well as another Alexander. So you're here.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. That's one of the best names in the world. But that's why I go by Impeccable, because there's a lot of us, as you can see.
I thought Kevin was unique when I was growing up in middle school until I got to high school. And then certainly by the time I went to college, there's a lot of Kevins out there. So Impeccable, that's a good choice.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. I'm joining in from the Tom Joyner morning crew. The Tom Joyner cruise. Okay. I was having internet trouble getting on, but hey, they didn't bump the internet up on the boat. So now I'm here. I'm here for it, but I'm ready to hear about everything about jazz festivals and why we love them and why we go. And it's not just jazz anymore. But go ahead, Kevin. Jump in.
No, it's not jazz anymore. And it's interesting. That's one of the things when I started the festival, about 3 years in, folks were saying, hey, why don't you spread out and maybe add a little R&B, add a little go-go, to expand. But I'm a purist, right? And everybody says, jazz, you're only going to get a certain type of clientele, but you can get more if you expand it. But I'm a purist, and I've kind of resisted over the last 13 years the push to go beyond jazz. And in this particular, we're talking about smooth jazz or contemporary jazz or jazz fusion, as opposed to traditional or straight ahead jazz. I like that smooth jazz. It kind of makes your head bop and doesn't put you to sleep. So, but I'm not really fond of moving over to R&B. I think, Kevin, you mentioned it. A lot of festivals, music festivals, they're not just straight jazz anymore. The name is there, but the content is a little diverse, I would say.
I'm glad you made the distinction between the different genres within jazz,
Yeah,
because even when I'm selecting a jazz station to listen to on my Sirius network, I'm like, okay, so there's like five. And
right.
so, what would you say are the sort of major distinctions between the genres?
Well, really, jazz kind of evolved from the 30s. When you think about jazz, when I think about jazz, I start in New Orleans. One of the most significant jazz artists from way back then um, was the trumpeter. Come on, help me out. The trumpeter from New Orleans. It'll come to me. But over the years, it kind of evolved into bebop. Um, then eventually, you had this smooth jazz fusion that had a little bit of swing to it. I think you can also remember swing and big band. That was another form of jazz. Louis Armstrong, I had a brain lock there, but Louis Armstrong was really the father of jazz in New Orleans. And then over the years, it kind of expanded and brought in a lot of contemporary artists that wanted to bring a little bit of flavor and flair to jazz. So now when I say smooth jazz, I mean folks like now you may hear Gerald Albright, or you may hear someone like Brian Culbertson. You may hear some folks that's on our festival that are local, for instance, that, because they don't have jazz stations, they have to do a lot of touring. And so I just wanted to stay true to smooth jazz. And it sounds cool too. Smooth jazz sounds cool. So I'm sticking to smooth jazz. It's interesting because a lot of the hip hop artists also kind of infuse jazz into their music, and a lot of jazz artists infuse a little hip hop into their music. So it's like a blending of sounds, but at the end of the day, it's just really good music, and people like to dance to or bop their heads to.
Hmm.
Absolutely. If you just tuned in, this is Black People versus Jazz Fest. People will go to a festival. You say the word festival, and if you say a different nice location, they are figuring out how to get there, whether it is on a cruise across the country. It has been popular. So you said back is I was just looking at some history earlier. Is you
Yeah,
said the first jazz fest was in 1970 in the French Quarters. I don't know how true this is, but it said in the Congo Square. Basically, the Congo Square was where in the 18th century enslaved people used to gather.
right.
Uh, did you say that already, y'all, or am I bringing up something new? No,
Yeah, I'm not sure if did you said 1972,
70 it says here.
1970. I'm not sure if 1970. Uh, and the only reason I say that is the very first jazz festival that I attended that really got me hooked was the Newport Jazz Festival, and that's in Newport, Rhode Island. And the gentleman who started that, Weinberg, he started the festival, and then he took the festival concept to New Orleans. And now what we know is the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival is a kind of like a spinoff of the Newport News Jazz Festival. So it was around that same time, but I thought it was in the late 60s. But I could be off. I'm gonna do some research and see,
Are
Kevin. If
you jazz enthusiasts, history buffs out there? Put
yes,
in the chat and see where we're going.
see what we
Um,
are. Right.
Alexis Taylor, what you talk? You heard about a jazz festival before?
I have heard of one or two and been to one or
We're a
two.
generational show, so I represent Kevin, the Gen X.
You're the Gen X. Okay, so I'm a boomer. So I'm a baby
Okay,
boomer. So I'm
boomer.
bringing in the baby boomer. We have any millennials up? Any
I,
millennials
I
there?
will stand for Team Millennial
Team
right
millennial.
now.
Okay, we got
Courtney,
millennials.
Courtney
I'm
is saying,
holding,
but
I'm holding it down for the Gen Zs.
Gen
okay,
Zs. Okay.
And I'm
So
Lenore.
holding along with you, Kevin, down for the boomers.
for the
As
boomer.
we
Oh,
refer
that
to.
Kevin.
Not this Kevin.
Yes, yes, yes,
So we are multi-generational on this
yes,
call.
yes, for
Yes.
Yeah.
sure.
All right,
But
Alexis. All right,
So
talk to me about.
I have been to one jazz fest. I went to the Hampton Jazz Festival one year with my mom, and what pulled me to the Hampton Jazz Fest that year. This was the year that Natalie Cole was on stage. And
Wow.
I, like, when I say I am a huge Natalie Cole fan, because my mother was a huge Natalie Cole fan. We didn't listen to much secular music, but Natalie Cole was allowed. And so I mean, growing up, like I said, I mean, if it wasn't gospel, it was Natalie Cole, Stevie Wonder.
Right.
And so it was the year that she was there. But as we're talking about adding other things to the jazz festival, now that we're talking about it, when I look back, there was a section of artists where the stage was mainly jazz artists. I saw Kenny G that year.
Wow.
It was a packed list of powerhouse artists, Natalie Cole, Kenny G. But then on the flip side, I also got to see Jill Scott and Monica. And this was all the same. It was the same year. I'm trying to think. I've only been once. Maybe twice, I don't know, but I know that at the Hampton Jazz Fest, that's the only one I've been to, and those were the type of artists that we saw. And so it is nice to see people still going out, Black people coming together for this, specifically for jazz, which is something that we have developed. Jazz comes from Black people. To see it in different iterations, specifically the jazz festivals that draw us out to just socialize and fellowship with each other. I love it. And so I'm still open to going to a few more, but the reason I came out to that one that year was Natalie Cole.
Okay. Well, let me put a little comma or caveat to my comments. You know, I do recognize that people want to listen to all types of music. And so when I say I'm a purist, you know, I don't mean I'm absolute, for instance. So I'd handle all of the talent. I buy all the talent. I identify the talent, and I identify talent that I think people want to come to see and hear. So my thing is, I don't want to shift and go totally to the right or the left. I want to, at least the predominant talent that you see on the stage is going to be smooth jazz or jazz. However, recognizing that people want to see a diverse lineup, we will, invite other folks who do a little R&B, neo soul. For instance, this year's lineup, Eric Roberson, he's going to be our jazz lunch artist. Someone can say, okay, that's a little neo soul R&B. Jeff Bradshaw, he's neo soul as well, hip hop jazz, I call him. In the past, we've had Avery Sunshine, and so she does the jazz circuit, but she does a little gospel, jazz, R&B, a little bit of it all. So we do have a collection of artists that will grace the stage, but the predominant jazz performances at the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival is going to be jazz, smooth jazz.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question here for you, Mr. Alexander.
Sure.
How do you think your festival has evolved over the last 13 years? How have you all survived? I'm thinking more of like, your marketing, reaching new millennials, reaching Gen Z, Gen X. Like, how have you all survived over 13 years? And it seems like you're coming back bigger and better each year. So specifically, I guess, during the pandemic, how did you all evolve to make it to year 13?
Yeah, great question, because we started out as a one-day community festival back in 2009. In Lake Arbor, there's a community called Lake Arbor in Prince George's County, which is where I resided and where I, got involved in the community. And over time, it started as a one-day festival, but it grew, and it was free. Believe it or not, it was free back in 2009 for 3 years. But the community was asking for more robust programming, and so we had to, of course, charge. But it has grown, and my vision really was to create a destination event that people can come to from around the region, not just local, although it started locally. But because of the need and the desire for people to get, really have more artists on the lineup, we expanded to regional and national artists. But fast forward, after 10 years, we had 3 events: a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday festival. The Sunday always ends with the jazz brunch, and the Friday event always starts with a white affair, a white party. Everybody likes to dress up in white, right? And so we would have a concert, everyone dressed in white, and it's a wonderful time. But then COVID hit, and that shut us down for a year. And we were able to get some funding to kind of help us continue the brand, but we shifted some virtual programming. We had some artists that would come into a studio, much like here at Wellspring Manor and Spa, and we would film and we would produce virtual events to keep the brand going. And then in 2021, we weren't out in full forces like everybody was starting to come back live. We actually pivoted to National Harbor, and they allowed us to have an outdoor venue at National Harbor, but limited to only 250 people per show. So we strung together a whole month of programming every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for a show with limited to 250 guests. So I think the idea really is just to keep the brand out there, keep the brand moving. And as long as people know that you're still trying to produce good programming and music, they'll support you. And the other thing that I want to say is we have a team of 10 people, and most of them are local to Prince George's County, and some are millennials, Gen X. I think I'm maybe the only boomer in the crowd. So that keeps it fresh. And then thirdly, for me, because I love jazz, I'm always going to a jazz festival. I just came back from the Dave Kaz cruise, jazz cruise, which was awesome. A cruise around Spain and Portugal. My wife and I travel a lot, and I make it a point that every place that we go, at least one vacation, it has to be a jazz festival. That's written in my marital agreement. That's right. At least once a year, we're going to a jazz festival somewhere, and she had to sign off on it before we got married. I'm just kidding, but she
love it. I love
it. If you just tuned in, we all about jazz today. It's Black people versus jazz on the Chicken Box, and smooth jazz, fusion jazz fusion. Everything is all about jazz. So, what type of jazz do you like? Jazz, Courtney? This is Gen. Let's circle in Gen Z. Does jazz even fit into y'all playlist, or is it like, oh, you feel like it's an old people's?
I do listen to jazz. I've been to a jazz show at the Jazz Showcase in Chicago. So I have been, but it's not my, I guess, go-to.
Okay.
Absolutely. So would you say that's true to your generation, Courtney, or for the most part?
I would say, yeah. I think we listen to more like R&B and rap.
Okay. So
Lenore,
my stepson is a rapper. My son is a rapper. So we have interesting conversations about music. Very interesting. So I can understand the different types of music, but the youth kind of keeps me grounded. But I will say that I don't believe that we will have a rapper on our stage anytime soon.
That's another festival.
That's another festival.
Lenore, you been to a jazz fest in your life?
Oh yes, more than a few.
Let's get into the user, the fan experience. What is it like being a jazz enthusiast at the festival, Lenore?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. For me, jazz is I'm a music lover, but jazz is the one genre of music that just puts me in such a chill space, especially if I'm at an outdoor festival and the weather is good, which I expect and hope it to be for this festival. It's like, I can't think of anything more relaxing. And I like hearing the different interpretations of jazz, if you will. Yes, thank you, Tara. I was just going to ask you to put that back up, because when I looked at this lineup, so I'm from Philly, so I saw Pieces of a Dream, and I was like, wait,
yes.
Wait a minute. I mean, what? And to me, Kevin Alexander, there's such a variety of artists even within this jazz show, correct?
Absolutely, 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 and we do that intentionally. So each day we present a different type of sound, beginning with their Thursday, actually Wednesday, all the way through Sunday. So that's the point that I was making before. You know, people are they want to come and hear a variety of music, and so there's one day that's outside, and that's on Saturday, where we have the headliner is War, and even War, and that's a kind of like an old funk groove.
Mhm.
You go out, you remember. So the
Mhm.
young folks don't remember this, but
Yeah, they don't know nothing about
all we
that.
know about Why Can't We Be Friends, or Cisco Kid Was a Friend of Mine, right?
Mhm.
So, but they take the stage and they will have you up dancing, having a good time, and it really transcends generations when you hear the music. And come on now, young ladies, you know that a lot of the music that you hear today, hip hop, a lot of it is sampling old traditional either jazz or R&B tunes. Am I right?
They don't
Yes,
know,
They
Cat.
don't know.
They don't know. They just
you
listen.
are correct.
Okay, I'm just saying. It's
Okay,
just a
okay.
sampling, a
I'm not
recycling.
saying these ladies don't know. I'm just saying
Right,
as a whole, a
right.
lot of times I'll be with my kids and they'll think that's the newest song ever. I'm like, that's a sample from so and so. But they don't have, I guess, the perspective to go back all of them, depending on what they've been listening to as a
That's
kid.
right.
Like you said, that's a good question. That's a good thing probably to study, Alexis. What your mother and father listen to? Does that really make the kind of music that you like? But before we get that, Craig Talley said, would you say jazz is an acquired taste? There seems to be a lot of history that's interwoven in the music. It's more like a movement.
Yeah, I will be honest with you. Not everyone really can warm up to jazz, and again, really depends on the type of jazz that you're talking about. I'll give you an example. My wife is a straight ahead jazz fanatic, and I say straight ahead. That's you go back to the '50s, and I call it crazy people music. And what I mean by that is I shouldn't say that, but if you get a lot of people who don't
Right.
know how to
You in
play,
trouble, Kev.
I
I'm
know,
gonna
I
say
know.
to you when you get off the
You
show.
you
Anyway.
you get people who don't know how to play an instrument and just have them play, and you don't know what you're going the sound that you're going to get, as opposed to a fusion or hip hop. Then you can warm up to that because that's close to what you're used to listening to. But that is a good question. I think it is an acquired taste.
Mm. For just to go back to your lineup, I was surprised, and maybe I don't know as much about jazz as I thought it did. Is War considered a jazz group?
No, I would call them funk, and I would call them yes, I would call them soul and funk, not necessarily jazz. But what happens is a lot of artists, they play the jazz circuit, and
Mm.
because they are seen on jazz circuits a lot, then people don't consider them jazz musicians, but they are playing the jazz circuit a lot, and people see them on a jazz stage a lot. So I think that's why they become so popular. You'll see some R&B groups that are not necessarily jazz artists, but they play a lot of jazz festivals.
Mm.
How big is the jazz circuit?
It started out really small, but it has gotten a lot of legs, especially over the last several years. Even since COVID, I think the federal government did a great job of putting grant money in play for festivals and jazz clubs who were damaged because of COVID. So it's very competitive across the country. Like I said, I go to at least 5 jazz festivals every year, across the country and sometimes across the pond. Um, and you have several just straight up here on the East Coast. So when you think about Lake Arbor Jazz Festival, you think about Capitol Jazz, you think about Rehoboth Beach Jazz Festival, you think about Jazz Legacy down in Hampton, you think about the Hampton Jazz Festival. Then you go up, you got the Harrisburg Jazz Festival. Then you go a little further up, and you have the Newport Jazz Festival in Rhode Island. You go further down south, you have a couple in the Carolinas, and that's just off the top of my head.
Byron D says he fell in love with jazz as a teenager while watching Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues. You ever
Yes.
seen that, Ash? Alexis? Courtney, you seen that? Mo Better makes it Mo Better makes it Mo Better. Go back and look at that if y'all haven't seen it. If you need to get your jazz, you know, bone or chord back
Right.
together. So okay, so you said like so the jazz circuit, you could have a lot of artists. That's how they take care, or that's how they make a living touring,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
It's cool.
because the music it's not a popular genre on the radio station, I guess, unless that's your thing, was
Yeah.
Sirius or Spotify or those guys. I mean, of course, now you can get the music you want, the
Right.
playlist you want, without waiting for the radio station to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's how a lot of jazz artists that we've never heard of,
Right.
well, that the general public's never heard of.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
sure
true.
the jazz enthusiasts are looking at me like, "Hey, you should know this person, or know that person."
I'm going to ask a question, and really based on Byron's comment. That was a great comment about how you were introduced to jazz. But is there a fine line of distinction between jazz and blues? Are they first cousins? How would you?
They're related. They definitely are related. First cousins, second cousins, I'm not sure, but they certainly are related. Blues puts me in a melancholy state. Jazz doesn't necessarily do that for me. Jazz kind of elevates my state of mind. Blues, my wife left me, my dog ate my homework, So that's the distinction that I'm making. But Kevin, you raised a really great point, and that is 20 years ago, every major market had a smooth jazz radio station. Every major market, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., New York, you go out west, every market had a smooth jazz or a jazz station. Now, most of the stations that are jazz are either tied to a university or some type of a nonprofit endeavor. But from a commercial standpoint, you're not gonna hear smooth jazz or jazz on a commercial radio station. I don't know. It may be one or two out there, but certainly they're not prevalent. And so artists, they have to tour. They tour. Another way that they make their money is selling merchandise. So we assist them in selling CDs. Now vinyl is coming back. They're selling T-shirts and all different types of merch. But they tour, and they're not going to make a lot of money off of streaming, Spotify and Apple Music. They just get a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what is made. So it's the festival is really a great platform for new and even emerging and seasoned artists.
Courtney, I know you have a question. That's just you dying to get jazzy about. You're on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, for my question, I actually have a question for all of you. Like, what inspired you to start listening to jazz? Was it because like your parents listened to it and you kind of just like caught on to the genre, or is this something that you like discovered on your own?
Go first, Alexis.
That's a really good question, Courtney. I think I was absolutely inspired by my mom. Like I said before, she was a huge Natalie Cole fan, but because she was obsessed with Natalie Cole, that also extended to Nat King Cole. And I say obsessed, like I'm playing, but I'm not, because I remember multiple times we would go to the store and buy Nat King Cole's entire catalog. Everything that they had, my mom would pick it up and it would be like, oh, because this song is on this and not on that, and so she had to get both. And so as a result, I grew up listening to Nat King Cole. Now, y'all were coming for the millennials just a little bit too hard. So I had to go through my records real quick.
Go on, Alexis. Go on. Clap back.
As a result, there's a whole bunch more Natalie Cole, but I do have some Nat King Cole. I also have some, I don't know if y'all can see it, but this is my War Platinum Jazz album.
Wait, what? Come on now. What? You want me to go down and get my? You want me to go down and get my collection?
Let's go.
I can go toe to toe with you on some vinyl too.
So, that's right, Alexis. Represent.
Wow.
So yes, I think that. I mean, I don't think that is. Something that our younger generations are into as far as reaching back, but there are people who are incorporating it into their music. And so one artist that I know that just comes to mind is Marlon Craft. If you listen to Marlon Craft says that his father was a jazz musician, and you can hear it all through his music. Like he's rapping over beautiful jazz beats and he merges everything so creatively. So I do think that you do have those type of artists out now that are doing rap or different genres. But again, it's because their parents had jazz playing, and to your, what you said, Miss Lenora, jazz is very relaxing. Like I think more of the younger generation should get into it. And my favorite song personally, I would say, is Sentimental Mood. Like if I hear Sentimental Mood, just those first few notes, it's like my whole body just relaxes, because it's just something about that song that just,
it's a beautiful song.
It is.
Can I put you on the spot?
Okay.
Sentimental Mood, written and produced and played by originally,
I would have to Google it. But
that's okay. A lot of people, because it's been covered so much, it's such a wonderful song. But Duke Ellington was the creator of that masterpiece.
Okay, I think John Coltrane is who I've heard it more by.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's been covered so many times. So, as the point that I was making before is, songs are covered so many times that some of the younger generation thinks that the first time that they hear it, it's the original. Right.
Yes, it's a little embarrassing sometimes to hear someone say, "Oh yeah," and they'll name, the Beyonce song. You're like, no, it's not the Beyonce song.
It's funny because I was listening to Luther Vandross, right? And when you go back and listen to most of his hits, they were covers or remakes. You name them, they were covers. But a lot of people, when they hear Luther Vandross songs, they think that he's the originator.
Absolutely. Lenore, what made you? Well, let's get back to Courtney's question. Go ahead.
Well, I'm probably a late bloomer when it comes to jazz and it being a genre of music of choice. Very much like you, Alexis, I grew up at a home where it was gospel music. So you name a gospel song, I can sing it. I can tell you who the artist was, what year it recorded. Jazz, not so much. So probably into my early adulthood, I probably stumbled upon jazz, and my entree may very well have been Pieces of a Dream.
Okay.
When I was in Philly, because there was just something about their music that I was like, oh, like it's giving me a different vibe. So let me look into that whole musical genre, and that's probably was my introduction to it. But yeah, you name a gospel song, I can give you something, but don't put me on the spot, because I'm gonna fail it. I'm gonna tell you that.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot. Okay.
All right. So for me, I think I used to hear my grandfather. He used to just play the music. He was the guy who brought the records, and he'd bring his turntable to the cookout, and all the men would be in the garage with the music set up, with the garage over the door. I just remember going and then playing jazz music. And then, Kenny G became a phenomenon, kind of like when we were in high school. I'm not saying because he already might have been, but he was the thing. We were hearing about Kenny G and all of this, so kind of got introduced to that. Of course, we knew the Duke Ellington, and we knew, when you had to study some music back when you had a music class, they would talk about jazz. in school, but I think once I got to the Afro in my 20s, when I was working there, they used to send the Afro all kind of music. All of these labels would just send CDs like every month, whatever new music, because they wanted us to cover it. And so I would get the CD, and and Walter Beasley, I just remember that name, just picked him up, and I think that in my early 20s was when my first, introduction. But now I don't go, jazz is not my go-to,
Right.
but it is smooth if you back in the day and you're on a date and you're trying to set the scene for the lady, put the candles around, get the smooth jazz playing after you maybe cooked a nice dinner for whatever. You know what I'm saying, fellas?
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
put on those smooth jazz, because sometimes you might not want no lyrics when you get into that
That's right.
into that love,
Yes.
that love mode. But jazz can just can set it straight. How about you, Kev?
Yeah, when I was in high school, my dad had an album collection, and I used to sneak down just to listen to it. And I really wasn't a fan, but I knew that the music was there. But it really wasn't until I got to college and I went to Fisk University. Shout out to Fisk University.
Shout out to Fisk.
Shout out. And so Fisk had a jazz station called WFSK, and my roommate, he was one of the DJs. And he used to come. I used to go to the studio, and he had the segment late night, and he would throw on jazz. And that's really where I started to say, oh, I like this music. I like this. And he would play selected songs that kind of got me there. And so I mentioned earlier, my first jazz festival was a Newport Jazz Festival that just happened to be a couple of years after my senior year in college. After really listening to music, I said I wanted to experience this firsthand and live. But that was it, really, my freshman and sophomore year in college, and then moving to my senior year. After that, it was on. I had the bug, and when I started the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival, it was after coming from a jazz festival in San Jose, California. My brother lives in San Jose, and I used to go to visit him, and he said, let's go down to the jazz festival. I said, cool. We went down to this jazz festival, and he and we kind of said, you know what, I should do this out west. And I said, I've been trying to do something like this out east. And on the plane ride from San Jose to at that particular time, it was DC. I had mapped out a plan for Lake Arbor Jazz Festival. And interestingly enough, my brother has his own jazz festival out in California. And so we both are bi-coastal. He has a jazz festival out in California. I have a jazz festival out here in the DC area.
Do y'all share lists?
Sometimes.
Oh, that's you can get some people coming from LA to the East Coast.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
some
we
people
do.
from the East Coast.
I get a call from time to time, and he'll ask me, man, I like that guy that you had on your festival. Give me his name, number, and I'll connect. And then likewise, we'll share contact information, and I'll ask him, how was their set? And he'll say, you might want to pass on that guy. So we do collaborate, not just me and him, but a lot of the promoters in the area. We'll talk about what makes a good set, what makes a good performance. But anyway, that's how I got the bug.
If you just tuned in, we just not here rambling. We talking about Black people versus jazz festivals. We all in the jazz. Alexis is pulling out her vinyls. Actually, a friend of mine who went to high school has a new store down on Howard Street in Baltimore called Vinyl and Pages.
Okay.
In there, in Baltimore City, where he's actually selling vinyl. Opened a vinyl shop called Vinyl and Pages. Alexis, I'll put you down later.
Please do.
Yeah, me too. I'm still learning.
Vinyl is coming back.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not breaking. Really, am I breaking up?
A little bit, but yeah, you're free. It's like you're freezing, but we can hear you. Can we talk about the festival now? Can we talk about what that experience? What should people expect when they get there? And it runs for how many days? Let's just talk about the festival because
let's talk about.
The Afro is a proud media sponsor.
Yeah,
so
Afro is thank you. The Afro is a proud media sponsor, and they've been amazing. You guys have been amazing helping us get the word out. We have a wonderful following of not just in the DMV and Baltimore, but also across the East Coast and folks coming from across the country. But I just want to say, hey, we start out on Wednesday where we have a VIP reception at Wellspring Manor and Spa, which is a 5-star luxury bed and breakfast in Prince George's County called Wellspring Manor and Spa, which is where I'm broadcasting from today. And so we have a VIP reception. We'll feature some of the artists that will come here for the festival at the kickoff VIP reception. And that's on Wednesday the 12th. And then on the 13th, we've added a celebrity golf tournament. And so a lot of golf, a lot of artists play golf. A lot of musicians play golf. When they're not in the studio, they're on the golf course. And so I thought it would be cool to add a golf component. And so on Thursday, we have a celebrity golf outing. And then on Thursday evening, we have a pre-festival concert that features Najee, Grammy Award nominated saxophonist and flautist Najee. And then opening up for Najee is Frank McComb. Frank McComb, if you've ever heard Frank McComb, he's a keyboard player that sounds like Stevie Wonder and Donny Hathaway combined. Phenomenal keyboard and vocalist. His name is Frank McComb. Alexis and Courtney, look up this guy, Frank McComb. All right. And then on Friday, we have the Summer White Affair. Now, this is going to be at MGM National Harbor, their casino and hotel. And that's our Summer White Affair. Folks come out in their nice summer white. And the headliner is Pieces of a Dream. Pieces of a Dream. Just to let you know, I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania originally. So I knew about Pieces of a Dream in high school because, they started working with Grover Washington Jr. in high school in Philadelphia.
Yep.
So they're a headliner, and opening up for Pieces of a Dream is Mike Phillips, saxophone player, used to play with Jill Scott, a lot of those musicians from Philadelphia, Music Soul Child. He used to play on a label called Hidden Beach, and Hidden Beach was known for hip hop jazz. And then also there's a jazz vocalist or female vocalist. Her name is Karen Lynette. She'll be also playing as well. And then Saturday is the Jazz Festival, is the outdoor jazz festival. It's going to be at Lake Arbor Community Center. We have a collection of artists that, the very, very talented artists. Just to name a few, we have the Blackbirds. You've heard about the Blackbirds, right? We have Marcus Anderson, Julian Vaughn on bass. We have a couple of local artists. We have Rebecca Jade and Kim Scott and Jasmine Gent. These are female vocalists and artists that are phenomenal. And so that's an all day. Get there early. Gates open at 12 and the war goes on at about 8:15. We have beer, wine, VIP. We have the entire outdoor experience, just chilling on the park, just enjoying, just like you said, Mr. Lenore, enjoying the vibe. And then we pivot to our Sunday Jazz Brunch on Sunday, which will be back at MGM National Harbor. And the headliner is Eric Roberson and also Jeff Bradshaw. Jeff Bradshaw is a trombonist out of Philadelphia, and he plays the trombone for Patti LaBelle. So when he's not playing for Patti, he's doing his own thing, playing the trombone. And so I snatched him away from Patti just for the weekend to play this set for us. And then in between some of these concerts, we kind of infuse some activities that people who come from out of town want to enjoy. For instance, we have a wine tour. Prince George's County has a wonderful scene of wineries in southern Prince George's County. So we planned a tour leaving MGM for folks who want to go and drink wine that's going to be on Thursday in the afternoon. They can get back in time for the show at night. And then on Friday at Wellspring Manor, we have a coffee and brunch. One of the artists, Marcus Anderson, he has a line of coffee. It's called And Coffee by Marcus Anderson. So we're going to do a brunch with him at Wellspring Manor and Spa where he'll talk about his coffee brand, He'll play some live music on the saxophone, and you'll get the experience of Wellspring Manor and Spa as well. So what I've tried to do is combine experiences, not just the concerts, but different experience of people come in from out of town. They have something to do in between the festival.
So-
consider like that, Kevin. You're on a jazz cruise, right? You're on the in between the concerts.
I'm on the Tom Joyner cruise.
You're on a Tom Joyner cruise.
Right.
In between the concerts, you're going to meet and greets.
Everything.
You're going to everything.
Everything, you name it, everything.
Right.
The guru, the business guru, the relationship coach, this person, that person.
Right.
They have a comedy room. They have so many rooms. I didn't know I can stay up that late. I gotta go to
Right.
I have to go to bed. I said, so Kevin, is it one price for the whole weekend?
No, every concert is priced differently.
Okay.
So at
Can you buy a
MGM,
weekend package?
no weekend package, a la carte.
All right.
It was very difficult to craft a weekend package with so many things going on in different venues. So we give people the option and the choice to choose the seats that they want and to choose VIP versus general admission. Now, I will say that the Sunday brunch obviously comes with the brunch if you want to. There's theater seating, but a lot of people want the brunch experience. And then on Friday, that's a dinner show in addition to theater seating if you want the theater seating. But if you want to enjoy a nice meal and concert, you can do that as well.
So if you're a first-time jazz festival goer and you come into the outdoor festival,
Right.
I heard you say seats, but I see a lot of people bringing the seats. Is it on the lawn? Where is it going to be at?
Yeah, so it's going to be on the lawn. So what we've done with the outdoor event is, because it's outdoor in July, a lot of people will want to be covered. And so we have tents for people who want, we call a VIP experience. So we couple tents, shade. You don't have to bring a chair. Chair is there. Food is there provided with your ticket and table. And depending on which tent you get, you can get an elevated experience. We did something last year that went over very well. One of our tents sponsored by Wellspring Manor and Spa again. Because we are a spa, my wife wanted to introduce spa treatments on the spot. So it's a chair massage. So if you buy that experience, not only will you get the food, the shade, complimentary wine, you'll get a chair massage as well.
So hold on, you said tents. Okay,
Yes.
so this looks like a big camp, a little big campsite, huh? So if you're a jazz enthusiast, you don't have to see the artist; you just got to hear the music.
But you can see the music. I mean, all of this, not say all, most of the tents is certainly the VIP tent. There's a direct line of sight to the stage.
Gotcha.
Okay, and if you're just bringing your lawn chairs, you're sitting right in front of the stage. Now, the one challenge that we have every year, and to all my folks that are listening, if you come to the Jazz Festival, can I implore you to follow the instructions? The one challenge that we have every year is people love shade, and we encourage people to bring your umbrellas. But while the show is being performed, we ask everybody to lower their umbrellas. That's Jazz Festival protocol.
All right. Y'all heard that?
So if you don't know, Jazz Festival protocol is bring your umbrella, but lower your umbrella during the performance.
Gotcha.
Then after the performance is over, put your umbrellas back up, and then you can enjoy it. Except for if it's raining, because it's rain or shine. So last year we had the festival and it rained, and we had folks they came ready. They had their ponchos, they had their umbrellas, they had their rain boots. They came ready. And that was the other thing that we would tell people. When you go to a festival, especially in the summertime, come prepared.
That's right.
Come prepared.
So you could bring your own drinks?
No, drinks are provided.
Drinks are provided. I mean, you have to pay for, if they want alcohol, they have to pay.
They have to pay. We have a beer and wine tent. You go in the beer and wine tent, get yourself a nice cold beer and some Chardonnay or Riesling or some red blend. Take it back to your seat. That's the other thing about jazz. Jazz and wine go together. Just imagine.
So
Nice
no
glass.
hard liquor, no hard liquor at the Jazz Fest.
Well, we made a conscious decision.
That's good. All right, talk to me about it.
We made a conscious decision that we didn't want to have hard liquor. Now, some jazz festivals, they do that, but we made a conscious decision that we didn't want to have hard liquor at our festival in July at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We made that decision that we didn't want to expose ourselves to something that may go bump in the night because someone had too much to drink. So we tell folks, just monitor your intake, because sometimes wine and beer, depending on who it is, can get you in an elevated state. So we just tell
people. Can you put their website up, Taryn, so you can see maybe they have some of these tips on their website or what to do with how to stay hydrated. Put that. Just scroll that at the bottom. The Lake Arbor. I think it's lakearborjazz.com. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. And we have.
And that's where people can go for tickets.
That's where you can go for tickets. Find out more about the festival, the lineup, all of the activities that we have. There's an FAQ page that gives you an update on the do's and the don'ts for the festival. There's some other information about who we are. I just want to put a plug in also. I mentioned earlier that the festival is hosted and sponsored by the Prince George's Cultural Arts Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that produces the festival. I started the foundation back in 2009. And when we count all of the money after the festival, when we pay all the bills, whatever's left over, we give scholarships to students who want to pursue their education in the arts.
Wonderful.
And music education. And so we've given upwards of $75,000 in scholarships since the foundation started the scholarship fund in 2013. So in about 10 years, we've given away about $75,000.
Man, that's amazing. I see is you and your wife. Is this a couples thing? Because I remember back in the day, the Capital Jazz Fest, all the beautiful ladies in the DMV were there.
Yeah,
because we were just going. We ain't care nothing about jazz. We Capital music. What's the scene like for married and unmarried people?
Oh, you can married, unmarried, doesn't matter. Kev, just come. And I will say
I'm
this.
Married, but I'm just saying. I'm talking about there's a lot of single people in the DMV.
They absolutely come to the festival. Come to and here's what I would say also. The addition of MGM National Harbor is really exciting, because I'll tell you this, because MGM National Harbor is a casino that's open 24 hours. And you can come to MGM after the show, get a nice meal, go to the slot machine if you want to, go to the betting parlor if you want to, come up and see the show and just hang out all day, all afternoon. Beautiful people. There's a plateau there you can watch. We've introduced also a cigar and bourbon night with Jeff Bradshaw. We got to tinker around that a little bit because it's so popular that it sold out in the first day. So we're trying to figure that out a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, it's a variety. Just like the music, there's a variety of music. There's a variety of people.
Yep. Is MGM the host of just the Saturday and Sunday events, and everything else is at Wellspring Manor?
No. So MGM is hosting. We're hosting the event on Friday and Sunday.
Friday and Sunday. Okay.
And Friday is the White Affair with Pieces of a Dream, an evening show. And then the brunch is Sunday at MGM, a brunch show.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, after everything is said and done, we tell all the artists, let's go and have a finale jam session after the brunch in the evening, Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. I'm inviting all the jazz musicians that grace the stage and some others that were not on the lineup, just to show up with your horn, your violin, your sax, whatever. And we're just going to have a jam session.
Yeah.
I call my tambourine.
And bring
tambourine. If I'm coming from out of town, do we have a hotel? Is there a host hotel? Is that the MGM?
Yep. MGM is the host hotel. And then there's several other hotels down in National Harbor. that you can look at. The West End is one. And then also Wellspring Manor and Spa is also a host hotel. And you can go on to the website wellspringmanor.com as well as Lake Arbor Jazz, and you can see a link to Wellspring Manor because we also have rooms here for the festival.
Man, if y'all ain't never been to the National Harbor, it is sexy. It is super sexy. The music is gonna be smooth, and it's gonna be beautiful weather. It is like the DMV's finest. I mean, it's like when you talk about going to Dubai and all this stuff. You come down to the National Harbor, you're gonna feel away. You know what I mean? Come dressed. For some of the parties, you don't want to be that dressed outside.
Not outside.
In
summer.
July, you're gonna be hot.
Right.
So look, we running out of time. We're running out of time. We got about 5 minutes, okay? And this is probably a topic that we could talk about for the whole year, jazz. You know what I mean? Just jazz music forever. But we like to just get you to thinking in a different way when you come to the Chicken Box. Just thinking about something that maybe you're not. You're looking for something to do. You married. You're like, what are we going to do this week? Go to eat, to the movies. I mean, here, go to the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival if you're in the DMV, or if you're not in the DMV. We have 3 airports. So
that's right.
You can get here. Dallas, DCA, or BWI. You can get to the Jazz Fest. So again, this is the Chicken Box. I'm your host, Kevin Impeccable Peck, along with our managing editor, Alexis, Courtney Alexander. We got the whole Afro Power team, Lenora Housing, not only our advertising guru, but she helps guide the ship at the Afro too. She wears several different hats. And everybody who's tuned in, Byron, Wayne, Bruce. Oh, what's up, Wayne? Wayne is one of my frat brothers. Wayne, I can't even think of man. Oh, man, I'm forgetting the name of your band, and y'all have played the DMV everywhere. Wayne, I'm sorry. Please put it in the chat because I'm forgetting.
How about spur of the moment? Spur of the moment. That's right. Spur of the moment. Good God, I had a brain fart. Well, Kevin. So not only do we share the first.
I already knew, Kev. I already knew, but I was waiting for you to say it.
My man. All right.
Well, let us in on it. What else now?
Our diamond shine bright. Let's just let you know that.
Oh,
the best fraternity in the world, Kappa Alpha Psi. Anyway, so I know it's going to be off the hook now. That just killed it. The game is over. The game is over. If the Nukes are doing it, it's over. Anyway, man, thank everybody for tuning in. I want to keep talking about it, but I'm going to disrespect your time. Lake Arbor, I've never been there. Actually, I think I'm going to be somewhere in the area that week. I'm going to get out to one of those days, and I hope you guys do too. We're going to get on the box. This is where you get on the box and you speak your truth about jazz or whatever's on your mind that you've been wanting to say and get off your chest so that you don't go home and hurt nobody. Anyway, Courtney, you on the box, and Black people versus jazz or jazz festivals. What you got?
Yeah, thank you for joining us on the Chicken Box, Kevin. This was a great discussion, and I'm actually inspired to attend some jazz festivals in Chicago. I know that we have a lot going on over the summer, and I'm also going to hook my mom up with some tickets to your fest. She loves jazz music, and I owe her a present for Mother's Day, so this would be amazing. Also, thank you once again. Jazz music has a great history behind it, and it's soothing, and it's a very rich genre of music, so I'm glad that you're keeping the history alive behind it, and you keep the music going. So thank you again, and I don't know, I might see you at the fest.
All right.
Lenore, you on the box.
Oh, I just want to say thank you again real quickly, and I will concede my box time because I want Kevin to, when he goes on his box, to span the room that he's in, because I believe you're at Wellspring Manor, correct?
I'm at, and that's a good segue, because in order to do
concede.
that, I'm going to plug in so I don't lose any power, so that you will be able to see, what we have here. But go, you guys keep on going.
All right, I'm off the box.
Alexis.
Well, I would just say thank you, Mr. Alexander, for doing this for the culture. I know just the atmosphere and the vibe. Miss Lenora mentioned that you get at these.
He actually said the chill. She
I said the vibe. Go on.
He said it's real chill. He said it's real chill.
Real chill.
Real chill.
Listen, I am inspired to go to another jazz fest. I haven't been to one since 2012. I looked up that Hampton Jazz Fest. I'm like, it's been 11 years. How? It's been 11 years since I've been to a jazz festival. So I'm going to look up the brunch information and see if I can slide out. MGM is not that far from Baltimore, so I encourage everyone that can, by train, car, plane, if you have to, if you're coming from outside of the DMV, definitely check this out because it looks like it's going to be an amazing lineup with events offered for all ages, all different backgrounds.
Cool.
Absolutely. Look, I'm all about it. I used to go to Lake Arbor to play golf back in the day.
Yeah.
And to hear that it's a festival, and at the MGM and at the National Harbor, guys, go to it if you want to do something different. Go to the jazz Lake Arbor Jazz Festival, and it sounds like you've had enough years to make any mistake that you need to make on these festivals.
Yeah,
get it right. Except y'all lower your umbrellas. It's gonna be a beautiful experience.
Thanks for that. Yes.
Lenore or somebody send Kevin my number so the two Kevins can be connected.
no doubt.
We'll connect you for sure
on a cell phone. But man, we are proud of Prince George's County, because that is or used to be the richest county for black people in the country. I heard that Talbot County or something? No, not Talbot. What's the one that borders you now? It was a recent
Montgomery. Is it Montgomery?
It's not Montgomery. It's one that you wouldn't even think would be the richest county.
For African Americans?
Yes.
Really?
I know. PG held the lead for several decades.
Okay, I need to do some research.
I'm gonna pull it up before you leave. But show us this
County.
Charles, right?
Charles
County. For black people.
For black people.
Wow, I need to do some research on that, kid.
It astounded me too, because I guess the PG County, some of the folks must have moved over there and took that money over there.
I'm seeing Charles County as of last year from
Washington
right? Post and NBC4.
Wow.
I'm doing a quick, and then actually blackexcellence.com published something 12 hours ago that says
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Kudos. Shout out and kudos to my frat brother as well in Fisk guy, Ruben Collins, who's the president of the Board of Commissioners in Charles County. Okay.
There we go.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see the barn.
Love it.
All right. So I'm on the chicken box. This is Wellspring Manor and Spa. So as I mentioned, I'm in the barn, and the barn is also an art gallery where we feature black art from across not just the region, but the world. And we curate about 35 to 40 artists of color right here in the manor, as well as in the barn, which is where I am standing right now. Nice. So this is a really nice feature. And a lot of our guests, they come here and just to chill out. We open up the manor and the barn every third Sunday for an open house experience where you can actually meet and greet and talk to the artists. And each piece is for sale. So that's where I am, the barn at Wellspring Manor and Spa. And because I'm a jazz enthusiast, periodically I'll invite some of my artist friends to come and we'll have a jam session here. And the guests really love it when I do that. So yeah, this is Wellspring Manor and Spa and the barn experience.
Mr. Alexander, I want to hop in here. I may have missed it, but do you play an instrument? What do you?
I do not play an instrument. Okay. I do not and I get that all the time. I do not play an instrument.
All right, but you bring them together.
I bring everybody together. I tried to sing at one point, but a couple people said, keep your day job, right? So I just bring everybody together and organize and just, that's what I love to do. That's what I love to do. Yeah.
Well, this has been another wonderful chicken box. We got our guest host. I love when you guys come on. It's a breath of fresh air. Kevin, thank you very much. Listen, the Afro, we've been around. We're the oldest black business, not only in Maryland, but probably the oldest media company, black
Right.
owned in the country, 131 years. And we've done that by just staying true to who we are, informing, inspiring, and educating the world now with the invent of the internet about the positive things that we do. The news that we really produce is probably 98% positive, y'all. But
Right.
the other media will spin that 2%, and you would think we were the worst race that was ever invented. And so we know that not to be true. So go to afro.com. For less than 2 Uber Eats, you can have a digital subscription, and for $100, $100, you can have the legacy edition, which we see the millennials still like vinyl. Some people still like paper. So go to afro.com. We have up-to-date news that's coming at you about us and for us from a different aspect that has been around. And we have archives that spans 131 years. Let's just say that. So all the greats that you were talking about in jazz,
Right.
they're in the archives of the Afro. They probably had face-to-face meetings at the Afro when they came into the city, because they were coming into the city because we love our music. So
No doubt.
keep supporting us. We'll keep supporting you. Go to Lake Arbor Jazz Festival. Thank you, Kevin, for all you do down there, and thank you for just opening our eyes to what's right in our backyard, y'all. You
That's
don't
right.
have to go far to get a good jazz festival, but guess what? It's fun to travel. I see that smile every time he said, "I go to 5 of them." Did
That's
you see
right.
that?
Love
5
it.
festivals. Once you get your start at Lake Arbor, and then you can find out what the circuit is, get on the cruise or whatever else you love to do, and go experience the world through jazz. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're looking forward to experiencing Lake Arbor Jazz Festival. And I forgot to say, call a senior, y'all. They want to hear from you. They have not
Yeah.
heard from you all week. I say this every week. Call your grandmother, your auntie, your uncle. Call them. Don't text them, because some of them don't have flip phones. Don't do any of that. Just call them and say, "I'm thinking about you. I love you. See what's going on." And see if maybe you can't do something for them. Cut the grass or send the grass person or whatever they might need to do, because they do need our help.
No
So
doubt.
we all we got. Until next time, God willing, I'm your host, Kevin Impeccable, along with Courtney Alexander. We missed our CEO, Dr. Draper. She couldn't be on. Lenora Housey, Alexis Taylor, and Kevin Alexander, and all the noobs. Yo, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
platform to the Afro.